Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So trials bikes are weird looking. They're very unique, very specialist, but they're very odd. So I'm going to go through a few reasons today why they look so different to a regular mountain bike, what the changes are, why they're so unique, and how that helps us when we're riding. So the first thing people always notice on these bikes is no seat. And a simple reason for that is we never ever sit down. There's no point in a modern trials competition where you need to sit down and go for a little cycle, so we just get rid of it. Another reason is, as the sport's progressed, jumps have gotten bigger and seats just get in the way. They hit certain areas, make things uncomfortable, and they kind of restrict the movement on the bike. So if we get rid of this seat, we've got all this extra room to compress, move the bike side to side, and this allows a lot more freedom. So something else that's been lost over the years during a trials bike development is gears. So all modern trials bikes run single speed, and again that's just because we never use gears. There's no point in a trials competition now where you need to change the speed, change gears. A lot of our riding is in short spaces, it's a lot of explosive moves, there's not a lot of need for kind of long distance riding or to keep your speed up over a long distance. I run 1815, that's quite a light gearing, but again we're not really going that fast, it's all about that quick explosive power and quick acceleration. So despite all the big drops, big jumps that we do, trials bikes don't run suspension front or rear. That's because when we're doing a big drop, it's usually quite slow, quite controlled, and we're absorbing all the impact through our legs. And again, when we're doing jumps, we're able to use our bodies and we want to be a bit more connected with the bike. So when we compress or when we jump, our energy is going straight to the bike, it's not being absorbed by the suspension. And at slow speed, that's quite beneficial to us. So despite what a lot of people think, trial riders aren't clipped in at all. We use normal pedals. A lot of riders will use these are cage pedals. They tend to be a bit wider and a bit sharper than your usual pedal. But normal mountain bike pedals like this, or platform pedals, do work just as well. But the cage pedals are just that bit more wider and that bit more sharper. So as you can imagine, having a really grippy tyre is really important in trials. A trials tyre tends to be a bit wider than your standard mountain bike tyre. So my current tyre is 2.5 on the rear, and your standard mountain bike tyre might be 2.1 or 2.2. So our tread spacing tends to be a bit wider. The knobbles aren't as high, because again we don't need to get through that much mud. So if we go smaller treads, there's a bit less resistance and a bit less flex. The actual tread itself is a bit softer, so you can always squidge the actual knobbles themselves. Our tyre pressures are a bit lower as well, because again we need that compression and need that grip. Kind of varies in the ride and the condition, but a 26-inch tyre you're looking at maybe 22, 25 psi. So on the front we'll have a slightly thinner tyre, because we're not on the front tyre as much, so we can have it a bit smaller and save a bit more weight. But again, the tread pattern is very similar, so they'll be a bit smaller and a bit wider apart. So even things like the brakes are very unique to trials. A trial specific lever tends to have a lot more reach, and that's because we need as much leverage as we can very quickly. So having all this room of movement allows us to get a lot more power out of kind of one squeeze. A mountain bike brake tends to be a bit more made for comfort, and with a mountain bike brake you tend to be able to modulate it a lot more. When you're rolling down hills you can ease the brake on, ease the brake off. But with trials, with our rim brakes as well, the power is usually on or off. There's kind of no in between really. So majority of trials bikes, especially 26-inch bikes, will run rim brakes, set up the old school style brakes where the pistons and the pads hit straight to the rim. Most mountain bikes nowadays, and even a lot of the road bikes, will run disc brakes, because that allows for a lot more modulation. You can kind of roll with them a lot easier. But again, with trials bikes, we want that power to be on or off, and we find that's a lot better with rim brakes. So if we look at the bikes next to each other, we can see how different they really are. If you look The Trials bike, the frame's a lot lower, front end's a lot higher, bottom bracket's a lot higher, and again that helps us when we're riding a competition. We need to be on that back wheel, on that front wheel, and that kind of geometry helps us out a lot. The mountain bike, made for comfort, so the bottom bracket's a lot lower, you've got the seat, you've got the front end, nice neutral position. It's a lot more comfortable for general riding and day-to-day stuff. So I hope that's answered a few little questions for you about why our bikes are so different and why they're so weird looking. If you've got any more questions you want to know about the bikes or about the riding, then just subscribe and comment below and I'll try and answer them the best I can. Peace.